Okay, well, it looks like we're missing Kip and Terry. Do you all want to get started or you want to give them another minute?
Whatever you decide.
Well, we can catch up.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes after. I would say we'll catch them up.
That's right.
Okay.
I approve.
Let's have Marlene run us through the PowerPoint.
Sure. And I have no pride of ownership here, so look forward to getting comments and suggestions for you guys. So do people want to, oh, should I try to show it?
If you can, that way we're all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, let's see. Says I can't.
Sue Ellen should be able to give you a permission. She's a wizard. She's a wizard back there behind the screen.
Yeah. Could you let me share my screen?
Please do, but I don't know how to.
If you go to your 3 dots up there, Sue Ellen, at the top right-hand corner, it might let you do it.
The only 3 dots I've got are on and off.
So let me see.
I've got share a screen.
So like if we try right now, Sue Ellen, it says the host has denied our ability to share the screen. Right. So.
Well, I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking here.
I'm trying to see if I can find a place to do that.
So do you have like either at the bottom or the top of your screen, Sue Ellen, do you have like 3 dots that allows you to kind of open something up and make some choices?
Well, there's the red dot that turns it off, the green one that I don't know what we'll do, and the yellow one.
Not those dots. There should be like 3 white dots next to, like, there's a toolbar, and it says participants and chat and share screen, that kind of stuff. And it should.
Well, that's at the bottom. There's security.
Yeah, that's at the bottom. So is there another option? So under share screen, what does it allow you to make another?
Whiteboard, phone, desktop, share.
Oops. Beautiful.
That's awesome. But so it doesn't. Well, so you're sharing your screen. So.
Oh dear! Now I've lost my.
So it does now allow. So Marlene, it does now allow to request remote control.
Where are you looking at that? Oh, request remote control. Yep.
See if it does anything. It might send us into space or something. Who knows?
I just tried it.
Okay. I am about to approve Marlene.
I can control. Yay.
All right. We're getting pretty good,
Yeah, except that now I've lost my screen, but that's okay.
So you have to say stop sharing yourself, down at the bottom. If you go down to your.
What I just did was I approved Marlene to share the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are some cute puppies.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's our present dog when she had her 2nd litter.
Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet. We still see pups.
You're talking though.
What? Now I've got 3 dots that say more. Let me.
Because it's still not letting me.
Pause recording.
So you want to stop sharing, Sue Ellen, if you can?
Pause recording, stop recording, meeting.
No, not the recording. Just stop sharing your screen. Should be at the bottom. Like if you move your cursor back down to the bottom, it should light up. And
I hate to be the one to tell you this, but all of those controls are at the top of the screen.
Well, you have a different screen because you're powerful and in charge.
It says waiting for Marlene to control.
Okay. It says I can control it, but I don't know how to grab anything.
And then it says stop share.
Okay. No, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
So the other option, Sue Ellen, would be for you to share,
you to
you know,
share.
for you to share Marlene's PowerPoint.
You have it.
I know I have it in email, and
8:30.
I can try to bring it up and see what happens.
I'd go over.
Okay, it's up on my screen. Can you see it?
No.
No, ma'am,
yet.
you have to say share screen, and then it'll ask you what to share, you know. So it'll take you
So
a couple
if you move
tries.
your mouse around, there's those the toolbar at the bottom.
Yeah,
Or somewhere.
it brought up this. And I clicked on it and nothing's happening.
It might be behind it. Might, oh my.
Yeah.
So I would try it again. So stop sharing. And so at some point it needs to ask you what you want to share. And then you kind of have to look around. There'll be
See where
some
you
little,
opened it up. Yeah.
yeah, there'll be little boxes someplace. And
There are little boxes. I'm on the Microsoft PowerPoint box. I've clicked on it. Let's try this.
wow, way to
There you
go.
go.
Wow, fearless leader, way to go. You are controlling things from afar. Way to
Fearless
go.
leader who doesn't know how to use her computer.
Look,
We-
we're all doing this together. Don't
We
sweat
are.
it.
And this is the Swell, and this is the earlier version. This is the version that is not, we had edited a little bit. So I'll talk us through what we edited.
That sounds good. I think that sounds good instead of trying to go back
Yeah.
through that process. Even though Sue Ellen's now a wizard, but
Okay, so she is a wizard. So the idea here, I wanted to lay out what the original charge was to us. And so I grabbed it off of the actual wording of the action that appointed the committee and listed on that what they asked us to do. So that's where those came from.
yeah, it's straight and to the point. Yep.
Yep.
Great.
I would
Was-
make one
So
change.
is that okay?
I'd make one change to repurpose for future use. I would do possible repurpose.
Yeah. Oh, so let me go quick. We said repurpose for future use. Okay, we didn't update it before, so great.
I think
Oh,
I
what do
would
you
say,
think, Sue Ellen?
Jeff?
I think I would say considerations for future use.
Yes,
Just
better.
so we're deliberating, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, considerations means that there are multiple options, one of which would be the same as
Right.
current.
Was there anything in the charge to consider, although we've all discussed this, was there anything in there to consider income to the city? I can't remember whether it was just discussed or whether.
Let me go grab that and look, because I have the doc.
I think what Mike Sullivan was getting at to begin with was to raise funds to maintain the reservoir, but I'm not sure if it was on that charge or not. 'cause
It wasn't on the charge.
He was
No,
talking.
pardon me, the idea for the possibility of income came from our first meeting with Dave Conti, who told us that that's a possibility.
It was our first meeting with Mike Sullivan. It wasn't with Dave Conti,
Okay,
but definitely with Mike Sullivan. And I think it was brought on by the fact that we got a $2 million price tag for fixing the sluiceway.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
at this point, I don't know whether this is the right time to throw this in, but I did talk to Dave Conti yesterday at length. And the application from the water department to the city for possible use of federal funds under infrastructure that have come in because of COVID has gone or was going into the city yesterday for some funds to put towards this project or even all of the funds needed for it. That's just as a point of information and something we didn't have before now. And certainly
excellent.
something that the city council didn't have when we had our first charge.
So that's helpful.
What the actual language in the motion says is review costs to maintain the reservoir and repurpose it for future use, ensuring that reasonable environmental considerations are maintained. So that was the only language.
Well, I
Okay.
don't think we have to stick with the charge specifically. We can add in anything I think that
Right.
the city council said to us. So if you want to go back to possible income,
Do you want to say, so again, I personally would, I mean, we're saying up top city council charge, so we have to consider, if we change too much, then we might have to change that. But since we have talked quite a bit about revenue opportunities, do we think it's been important enough to put that in here as a bullet, something like revenue
It wasn't,
opportunities?
so where that would show up, Jeff, is based on all the things we heard from different people. So there's a couple of slides later. So things we learned that we're,
Okay.
so
Yeah,
it shows up
and I
there.
did see it there.
I like that better.
Yeah, I wanted to, what I was trying to do here was to just say, this is, we're doing no more, no less. This is what the initial charge was.
Okay,
Can
Yeah.
I just ask the initial charge, can you read the line again? Is it cost to maintain or costs to repurpose? Like,
No,
does it
It
imply
says
the
cost to maintain. Yeah, well, it says cost to maintain and repurpose for future use.
I guess I just wonder whether we think they meant costs in both cases. Like, did they mean cost to maintain and cost to repurpose for future use or not?
I would imagine they probably did.
me too.
Because I think that would be my worry about having the second bullet say repurposed for future use. That throws up all kinds of
Okay,
alarm
yeah.
bells to me. But if it said cost to maintain or second bullet, cost to repurpose for future use, that makes it sound more like it's an option.
Yeah, that's
Which
a
I
good
think is how
idea.
we took it, right?
Yep.
Hold everything. Let's go back to Jeff's suggestion that we change the word repurpose to considerations. And that takes care of the whole thing. Takes care of costs, it takes care of anything we
So-
want it to take care of.
I think it may not want to be repurposed if, depending on what goes on. So consideration is a lot more broad, I think. So can be repurposed or it can be kept kind of the same.
So I think Marlene is taking notes, right? So we already kind of agreed to that, didn't we?
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, so change repurpose to reconsider,
Consideration.
Considerations for future use.
considerations. Yeah,
Okay, next slide.
So before you run away, I had just one real quick thing to say since this is going to the public, I wonder if we shouldn't say Holyoke City Council charge. Because
Yes, we
again,
should.
there's people
Yep.
from East Hampton and other surrounding communities. And
That
then,
is absolutely correct.
and then the other thing, it just seems like, especially at the beginning, we ought to spell out Whiting Street Reservoir and just be careful. You know, it's the public. So even though, you know, we're so sure what we're talking about, the public comes in here and what the hell are we talking about?
Right, exactly. Good catch.
Of course, the first page says all that, but
Of course.
I think if there are multiple usages on one slide, we can use the
I
shorthand. on the
agree.
second
We're going to
page.
have to shorten it some. You know how PowerPoint is. You don't want to see it. You don't want it to be too long, but it's just.
well, maybe let's make it on the first slide, Holyoke City Council and Whiting Street Reservoir spelled out, and then shorten them thereafter.
I think the point being that like somebody's going to join on the third slide and be confused. I think if we have space, it's nice to spell it out the first time on each slide.
It's just something to consider. We don't have to, you know, change everything throughout here, but it's just good to think about. And if there's room on the slide, I agree with Kate. Just, you know, first of all, I like the way this whole thing flowed, Marlene, because it was pretty shortened to the point. So, you know, I thought that was helpful.
Yeah. I was trying to make sure, you know, I mean, presenting to the public, you have to be careful not to tell them what you think. You just have to tell them, you know, what you hear, what, you know, the facts kind of. So next
one.
Yep. So we made some changes to this. Remember, Sue Ellen?
Yes.
And so we changed it to the first line is legal considerations and restrictions included, and colon, applicable, first bullet, applicable Commonwealth, federal, and local laws. Second bullet, Mass Wetlands Law. And third bullet was Commonwealth Law, Article 97 requires changes to be by action of the Commonwealth Legislature.
Don't forget ownership. That has to stay there.
Yeah. Where's that?
Second bullet. Could we possibly say up top, review of legal considerations and restrictions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So the second bullet should read what?
Ownership of Holyoke Waterworks.
I mean, it's in here now. It's showing up now.
Yeah.
Do you want to also, since we considered things like easements, I don't know that we need to spell out too many things.
I think you
Do
covered.
you want to?
You're covered with legal considerations and restrictions.
Right. I just wonder, Dave, if we want to say something like for the last bullet, other potential protections. Just, you know, so because we did consider other things, you know, instead of just we know.
If you left it vague like that, that would be great. It would cover
because we did, you know, these are the big pictures, but there are other things we talked about. So
I would support that wholeheartedly.
So what are we adding?
Another bullet, other potential protections.
Right.
Okay.
Now, where it says the ownership of the Holyoke Waterworks, would it be better to put something like the ownership is the Holyoke Waterworks? Or am I not
Sure,
correct?
owner makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a little, ambiguous to me.
Or you could say, or you could turn that around, Harry, and you could say Holyoke Waterworks ownership. And then it's more of more a statement of fact.
Correct.
Let them know that
Yeah.
definitely the Ohio Waterworks owns it. That's what we want to.
Or just say property owner, Holyoke Waterworks.
Yeah,
You know,
that's better.
property
That's it.
owner dash Holyoke Waterworks.
Great.
Okay. And on the Commonwealth Law, Article 97, it's saying that requires changes to be the action. How about, any changes need to be
Okay.
Yeah,
acted.
I think that's important, Harry. I think because it's currently under Commonwealth Law Article 97, and maybe you want to say that, currently
Any
under
changes require action of,
the state legislature.
of the city and Commonwealth legislature, because it is both.
No, we're saying that applicable Commonwealth, federal, and local laws. And we've got the
Well,
mem-
the Commonwealth is the state.
right. So
But-
that covers the fact that the state law prevails.
The state law does prevail, but there also has to be an action by, the city. I mean, there have to be a number of actions by the city,
Well,
right?
the city
So
would
don't
have
we?
West,
Right. So for instance, the city council would have to request it. A unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission would have to occur. I mean, there's a whole series of things that have to happen at the city level for Article 97 to be revoked. So it just seems like you should just say action by the city and Commonwealth legislature. That's all, to be correct. I mean, it's more than just one thing. That's all.
right, yeah.
Good.
I'm gonna, after tonight's meeting's over, I'll send around this version of it and let everybody have another crack at it.
Okay.
Now, this is great, and thanks for editing.
Yeah,
Editing as
It
we
it is
go.
great. It's good work.
next slide.
You're controlling.
Yeah, you got it, not me. So we had updated this list. So the list that everybody got in the PowerPoint I sent to them is a more up-to-date version of this. Because we put dates next to all of these.
Great. That's great.
I'm going to look on my version. Yeah, so I have the Conway School of Design 2015, Mount Tom Making Connections, Conway School 2016, Holyoke Gas and Electric Comprehensive Report. I didn't find a date for the tie and bond,
Oh,
gas and
interesting.
electric.
I worked on that. Maybe I can find something.
Okay,
I did.
that was the one I couldn't find a date for. Oh, and the capital open space and rec plan. Where was that?
You probably need tie and bond instead of T and B.
Yep.
Just
Sure.
FYI, Marlene, I didn't get a copy of, if you sent this to people, I didn't get it. So, I mean, this is totally
Okay.
fine, but if you could send it to me later, that'd be great.
Sure. And actually, when
Well-
I'm not typing crazily here, I'll send you a
Yeah.
copy of it.
Totally fine. No rush. I'm fine with what we're doing now.
Okay. Huh, you were on the list. I don't know. Weird.
Not sure what happened.
All right, so these all, so I have tie and bond. I don't have a year for that, and I don't have a year for the open space and rec plan, if I can find that again.
I'll definitely have the I'll get the tie and bond for you.
Okay.
One they were talking was 2012. Does that sound right? Dave, was
Which
that
one?
2012?
Which one was 2012, Harry?
I think the tie and bond report. Dave, does that sound right?
Harry, I gotta look.
Okay.
We okay?
Yep,
Yes.
I'm just looking for report dates. But other than that, we can, unless anybody sees anything else to add to it, were there other things we did? Or reviewed?
Good.
Okay, next slide, Sue Ellen.
Got it up.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at my version of the PowerPoint, so I'm confusing myself.
It's easy to do.
Oh yeah, but I'm looking at the PowerPoint. How come it's not moving? Okay. So this was what was us in the letters we did to all the neighbors and abutters. This was the layout of what the outline of the meetings was going to be about. This was the letter they received. The bullet
That's-
points from that.
That's good.
Size to the point.
And I'll spill out Whiting Street Reservoir. Got it.
Move on.
Hey.
Yep. So, oh, you skipped a slide.
How'd I do that?
Go back one. The list of participants. Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Anybody we missed?
Yeah, you missed the, oh, got it. You got it. Wait a minute.
The who?
No, I didn't have, I was wrong. I'm good.
Oh, we also added to this, sorry, again, looking
I
at two
heard.
PowerPoints make myself crazy. We added New England Trails.
Yeah,
We added Pioneer Valley Planning Commission.
yeah,
We added the Hoyoke Conservation Commission.
yep. Yoni,
Yoni, yep. So
That's great.
we added several.
it's a nice list and it'll be better when we add that.
Yeah. So
Good, good.
yeah, it's in the updated version. But anyway, so yeah, next page.
Excellent.
So then what I wanted to do was I didn't want to be attributing anything to anybody.
Yep.
So I went through and I did one slide for what were the issues we heard multiple times. Nothing scientific, just went through all my notes. So this is the issue-y kind of things we talked about with everybody. Then there's another one after that's the, opportunity kind of next. But this was what Sue Ellen and I saw as issues. And I'm thinking, we updated this. So issues as follows. Number one was lack of overarching communication between the properties. Access and parking, including to the site and through the gate. Environmental concerns, we had trash, erosion, graffiti, drainage. The next bullet was amenities. The next bullet was safety, security, staffing. The next one was the size of the reservoir limits the ability to add additional recreational activity or uses. And the last bullet was costs and fees associated with all the above.
Good.
Anything else you guys can remember or think of?
Should there be kind of a overarching statement about desire to preserve the reservoir and other natural amenities on this side of Mount Tom?
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking
Like
there's a
that.
couple things that we talked about just right up front that.
Okay, Kate, come back and say that again.
Desire to preserve the reservoir and abutting natural amenities.
Yeah, I had written down before long-term protections for the area. So I don't,
Perfect.
but something
Even
along.
better.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah,
So try that again too. Go ahead, Jeff.
Long-term protections for the area.
How about desire for? Since this is.
That's
findings.
yeah, that's fine too.
Sure.
And the other thing that seemed to guide all our discussions that really I think we just kind of assume is here and we didn't actually state it that clearly is public use and recreation. That's kind of been a guiding conversation. And then when you get down to internal controls, it's really about controlling, people coming on
Yep.
to the property.
How about responsible passive recreation?
Responsible what, Sue Ellen?
Passive recreation. Or availability of just responsible passive recreation facilities, something like that.
How about if we do, you want to add just responsible in front of public use and recreation? Just the word responsible?
No, we've got safety, security, and staffing. Leave it alone.
Okay.
I'm trying to make a camel out of this horse.
So I wonder if we said something like planned public use and recreation. I mean, so that
There's, right, not to say that everything that happens there is good.
Right. So then the controls fall on kind of under that, but still,
Okay.
but the vision is for, act, available, public use and recreation, but then it has to be controlled and
Yeah, I think that
managed.
when you say the word plan, it helps because that is the issue. The issue is that there's no control.
Right. And when I was adding statements earlier, I wasn't doing a very good job. I was just thinking of the areas we were thinking about, not the statement of our desire. I wasn't
Right.
stating it as a recommendation. And I think you guys are on the right track. We need to state, to the
Yeah.
extent we can, we need to state these as a recreation, as a recommendation that people can consider and let it flow through their heads so they can react to that.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be, and to say it in a way that's not like forcing our opinions on other people, but just lays out, what we're thinking.
Oh, speak for yourself on that one.
I know. You can't think
No,
stupid.
boy,
I know, but
no.
But I think plan really covers a nice
I do too.
a nice scope.
Well, so on that one though, Dave, I do think there's another big one that's missing here, and that's something that was talked about from the very first meeting. And that is there a need for a comprehensive area plan, beyond just the reservoir?
So what the bullet, Jeff, that says lack of overarching communication between properties, that was sort of a way to begin to introduce that idea.
Because we did stick it in under opportunities.
Right.
It just seems though like but
instead of
there needs to
communication,
be,
how about like a framework, lack of overarching framework between properties or the area?
it's really, so from my standpoint, it's lack of a vision.
Right.
There's no vision. How do you begin to carry out all these management and planning based issues if there's no overarching agreed upon vision for the area? And there is not. And
all right, so I want to add that in. So how about in where it says lack of overarching communication? How about lack of overarching vision?
But by the way, remember, we can't see your slides.
Ah! All right. So, what I read, oh, yeah, yeah, because it doesn't look anything like this anymore. So let me read them again. So you know what I'm looking at.
Want me to try to pull the other one up?
Well, it's okay. Let me read. No, we're okay. We're already on slide 7. There's only a couple more. Planned public use and recreation, number 1. 2, lack of overarching vision and communication between properties. Number 3, desire to preserve the reservoir and other natural amenities. The next one, desire for long-term protection for the area. 6, access and parking, including to the site and through the gate. Next was environmental concerns, trash, erosion, graffiti, drainage. Next was amenities. Next was safety, security, staffing. The next one is the size of the reservoir limits the ability to add recreational activities and uses. And the last bullet is cost and fees for all of the above.
I think the one change I would make, maybe there are other things to add, I don't know, but the first bullet point
Mhm.
is phrased positively, whereas I think it's another one that wants to say lack of or need for or something. I can't remember what the first bullet point was, but
Planned, this is the planned public use and recreation.
so should that one be need for or desire for?
What do you guys think?
I think Kate's right. And I think that we have to go back to Jeff's word vision
Yep.
and make it as strong as possible. Because basically that's what this is really all about,
How about if I make that the first bullet?
okay?
It could either be the first or the last.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, whatever you guys, you know, you could build to it or it, but I think probably the first is best. But how about need for a comprehensive vision for the entire Mount Tom area, including the reservoir?
Perfect.
I can read that to you, Marlene, once.
Okay.
And again, people can modify this. I'm just,
Yeah, I'm gonna send it around so people can, you know, mess up with it. But so lack of overarching vision. for
so
Mount-
so here it is. Here it is. Need for a comprehensive vision for the entire Mount Tom area, including
Wait,
the
wait, wait.
reservoir. I'll read it to you again.
Need for
Slowly.
And maybe
comprehensive
it's too
vision.
long. Maybe it's too
No, it's
long.
perfect.
Need for comprehensive
for-
vision
For the entire Mount Tom area, including the reservoir.
Got it. I got it. Then the next bullet I have is lack of communication between adjacent properties.
I think I would say mechanism to enhance communication between, you know, because that's again, we got to think. I'm not always thinking of these as
Right.
recommendations, but we're turning this into recommendations, and that is what we should do. So I would say
Mechanism for-
establish a
Establish,
mechanism. I forget what I said now.
Desire
for
for
communication.
a mechanism.
Desire, wish for the establishment of,
Yeah, no, it's right. I like establish a mechanism for communication among landowners and stakeholders. So, stakeholders might be, but at any rate, along these lines.
Among neighbors and adjacent.
Among key landowners.
Abutting neighbors.
Key abutting neighbors and
Okay, well,
stakeholders.
Key's a rating. You're not rating any of these people.
let's remember that this is common findings from discussions. and not get away from that.
Right. So this
Okay.
is more this isn't the list of opportunities. This is more like stating, what the problems were that we need to develop.
I agree, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah, this is basically what we heard from the people we spoke with regarding their land and the use of it.
Okay,
Yeah, so we've been stating these as we've started to state these as recommendations now. So we just might have to rethink things.
Yeah,
Like you
because I want to
said,
make sure this isn't the recommendations. This is the problem
It-
that needs a recommendation.
right. I mean, that's how I started addressing them as issues. But and probably we do. I think you guys we're on the right track. We want to lay the issues out, and then we want to lay out some recommendations to
Right.
deal with those issues.
Right.
I don't think we're ready for recommendations.
But they can be, well, I don't know, Sue Ellen. So that's a good discussion point after we get through this. I mean, this is making us think of those things. I just think we at some point, we've been talking about this for 7 months. So at some point we ought to have enough information to at least lay some things out that we think are important and let people throw stuff at it, and then we'll see where we go from there. I mean, I'm just throwing out.
Some of it may be, it might just be, I think, for Marlene and whomever is finalizing this to decide if some things want to be stated as opportunities rather than issues. Like it could just be that an opportunity is that there is a desire for a
Something,
mechanism to
right.
connect the abutters in common management.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that we put it in as an opportunity because a bunch of people said they wanted it.
Right. And
Right. So
and I do think we do have to be careful about skipping a step, running headlong to recommendations. But I will say, if we made our recommendations kind of general, it would allow us to then still, collect more information and do more things to, once you get some support for those more general recommendations, then it doesn't, so it just might be something positive to talk about. That's all.
Well, it's never bad to give somebody something subliminally to think about,
right.
as long as we're very careful about how we state it.
Yeah, well, so I think though we should go back to remembering. So this is just laying out what were what are the things that need fixing? And then the next slide would be, what are some of the bigger term items or options that we might want to try to develop recommendations from or something,
So just one thing on this slide from an issue standpoint, under environmental, someplace we have to talk about water quality and the ability, and the status as a reserve drinking water reservoir. I mean, that's just an absolutely key point under the environmental concerns, and somewhere we need to lay that out. That's an absolute.
How about next to in environmental concerns, although it seems sort of, well, trash erosion and all those things are important. So do we want to make it its own bullet? Or do we want to just add it to the list of other environmental concerns?
So
like maintaining water quality.
Status as a drinking water reservoir, I think, is a major issue. Continuing that where the status continues that way, or that's a really important, because that controls everything else.
Everything.
Right. So somewhere you have to state that. And
how about the actual status of the Whiting Street Reservoir?
No, because that almost insinuates that it could change.
All right.
That's the present status. And think, if I'm not mistaken, Jeff is talking about the maintenance of a resource.
What I typed so far was first issue is to maintain status as backup water reserve for the city.
I would say drinking water reservoir. Or can it be a drinking water reservoir? Maybe I'm wrong about
Right
that.
now.
Not without
Reservoir.
boiling it.
Right. I think we heard that it doesn't go through treatment, right? So
No,
Right.
no.
you guys better watch me.
It's the most important thing. So there's got to be a way to say it simply.
Maintenance of resource for the city.
Yep.
Or just current status as a reserve.
How about
Water
current
reservoir.
status? Right.
Current status as a, it's an issue. Current
Right.
status as a
Backup water reserve for the city.
yeah, reserve water reservoir.
Current status as a public backup reservoir.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. And then for the environmental concerns, I would add water quality as the first one.
Perfect.
So it comes
Perfect.
in and,
Okay.
it hinges them together.
Okay, then we're gonna do 2 lines. One is to add water quality to environmental concerns, and the other is maintenance of the resource. As Dave said it,
Yep.
I didn't take notes.
I'm typing it here. I'll send it around after. So let me read the list again. Maintain current status as backup water reserve for the city of Holyoke.
Mm-hmm.
2, need for planned public use and recreation. 3, need for comprehensive vision for the entire Mount Tom area, including the reservoir. Establish a mechanism for communication among key abutting neighbors and stakeholders. Next one, desire to preserve the reservoir and other natural amenities. Next, desire for long-term protection for the area. Yes,
I wonder if those two could be combined. They sound pretty similar. So if you just said long-term protection in the first one, I think that
Okay.
would probably, instead of the preservation. They kind of mean the same thing, I think. Maybe to others they're different, but.
okay. Next, I don't have to read the one I just retyped above. Access and parking, including to the site and through the gate. Next.
Do you want to say public, or is that assumed, or?
We don't have to assume other than, I don't, other than public concerns, I mean, those folks don't have, I think we should add public.
So remember there was all those issues with the contractors. I mean, so do we need to say public and contractor? Or do we need that probably gets too detailed for this?
Yeah,
but.
let's just say access. Let's keep it at access. And if anybody asks, we can say what we heard.
And I'd leave out contractors. I think I would just use the word business, which kind of covers it. And Dave, I hate to say this, but I'm a little concerned about key. If we use the word key, it might indicate that we've already set up a preference.
Yeah, that's why I don't like it.
No, I was the one that said it, and Dave ripped me to shreds, so he was right.
Okay, it's gone. So we have abutting land, abutting neighbors and stakeholders of adjacent properties. So access and parking, environmental concerns, we have water quality, trash, erosion, graffiti and drainage. Next one is amenities. Next one, safety, security, staffing. Next one, size of the
is-
reservoir. Go ahead.
I'm just curious if public use is also an environmental concern. Do we list it already? We also already list access and parking, but do we have to list public? It's certainly a concern to Dave Conti. So I just don't know
I
whether you
think
think,
that's a good thought.
Trash and graffiti, which is from the public, I would think.
right?
Yeah.
So do we just need to say what are quality public, public use? I mean, they're concerned. They're concerns. They have to be considered.
Absolutely.
That we have to manage the.
You have to manage what you got.
And it was brought up by
Working
everybody.
its way into.
Right.
In there.
Okay,
Thanks.
I added public use.
Great.
Maybe you'll get through this. I didn't think we were going
And-
to make any changes.
Okay, next, amenities. See, I told you, this was just a good start. The next one, so we had safety,
Lack of amenities.
what?
Lack of amenities.
Lack of amenities.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
The next one, so safety, security, staffing, size of the Whiting Street Reservoir limits the ability to add additional recreational activities / uses. Then costs and fees for all of the above.
It's good. Getting real good.
One question, something someone just said made me think back to near the beginning, maybe it's like the second or third point is about a need for planned.
We said planned public use and recreation.
And public use and recreation. So just for sake of argument, some people would say there's not a need to have more. The need is, so is it that the need is that any activities, if they're going to be more, need to be planned?
Well,
Now, like, we don't necessarily need more activity
Let's
there.
drop the
Some-
word need then.
So planned
so
public
it's a
use
good-
and recreation.
so I will say again, and Kate, you bring up a good point, because when I came up with that planned public use and recreation, I was wearing the recommendation hat, and so
There's a desire for more planned.
but
There's a
but
desire
right
for
now,
more recreation, but there's also countervailing desire not to have more.
we're supposed to be laying out the issues. These are the issues. It's just the facts. And then we come back and say, either call it opportunities. I personally would suggest recommendations, but that's but this
I
is
actually
just the
called it
issues.
common findings. Common findings, opportunities. So
Now, I would simply, per Kate's point, drop the word need.
okay, just leave it as planned public use and recreation.
That'll take care of it.
I don't know,
Okay.
it makes me confused though, like what the issue is. The issue is like mixed feelings about. We can state it the way Sue Ellen recommends, and that just lays it out as like something to talk about, but
Well, the issue is really unplanned public use
Right.
and recreation.
Maybe
I-
that's the way it should be stated.
I agree.
okay.
That's it. Because the issue is people doing things that somebody doesn't like them doing up there. Whether it's, throwing trash or
Yeah.
marking up stuff, whatever.
Fair.
So unplanned public use and recreation. So here's a list. Maintain current status as backup water reserve for the city. Unplanned public use and recreation. Need for comprehensive vision for the entire Mount Tom area, including the reservoir. Establish a mechanism for communication among neighbors and stakeholders of adjacent properties. Desire for long-term protection of the reservoir and other natural amenities. Access and parking, including to the site and through the gate. Environmental concerns, public use, water quality, trash, erosion, graffiti, drainage. Next one, lack of amenities. Next one, safety, security, staffing. Next one, size of the reservoir limits the ability to add additional recreational activities and uses. And then the last one is costs and fees for the above.
On the second to last one,
Yep,
start it again. I've got a funny feeling that we could shorten it if we use the word support. So would you start reading?
sure. Size of the reservoir limits the ability to add additional recreational
Support,
activities.
to support
support.
additional recreational activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And then cost and fees.
Next slide.
Next slide.
Do you want to
So
just call costs and fees revenues?
That
No,
would be
it's
an
not. You're talking
opportunity.
about, yeah, okay.
that
I'll
would
leave
be,
it.
so,
Yep.
so, well, so the next one was, so that was the list of issues. This one was, all right, so what are the things that, we think, what are some initial larger type recommendations that we should be thinking about? What are some opportunities here?
Right. I guess I just would say, and fees is one type of revenue. I think I would just say costs and revenues, because then we're thinking about all the costs and all the potential costs and all the potential revenues.
So
That's-
are you back
that's
on which slide are you on?
The last
Oh,
one.
I was on the issues for that one.
Still go back to issues, okay.
I'm sorry. It was just it was your last bullet, and I just thought it would be
So
better.
I said, it says costs and fees. So costs, fees,
Costs and revenues. The issues are potential costs and need for revenues. But you can just say costs and revenues.
I think I should keep fees in there too, because whatever, if somebody wants to think about, setting up some sort of a public access fee or something. Gate revenue.
I just think that is
Okay, just leave it off.
under revenues. No, it's what others think. I just was thinking
Okay.
broader. It's,
Okay.
if that's the only thing we're thinking about is fees instead of, a partnership agreement with some,
Okay,
I think revenues is better.
yeah, revenues is better. I took out fees. Any other issues? Next slide.
Common findings.
Got it. I don't think we added or changed this from what I've got. So have at it for recommendations.
I think we should consider for each of the listed issues, I think we ought to consider a parallel, general recommendation and then maybe sub recommendations underneath that. That way, you kind of have a parallel track. Here's an issue. Here's what the committee
So
suggested.
the
we
only thing I would say is that, because we're doing this meeting to get input from the public, if we show up there with a list of recommendations that we've already thought through,
That's a good point.
that, so this is just our, here's what we heard. What do you guys want to add to, what you heard? So that
Yep.
we can, so we're thinking we have some general ideas, but what do you guys think? So,
Yeah, I think that's important.
the bigger discussions of who and what and, the sub, this and the, that's going to take us a lot of time to develop that list of recommendations. So I don't know if we need to do that before the first public meeting.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you're
I
catching me
agree.
skipping steps again.
Yeah.
So are we're on the opportunities slide right now.
Yeah.
I feel like the first point I would put under opportunities, it would be something along the lines of, just the fact that almost everybody we talked to said something like, this is a jewel of Holyoke. So I think the shared belief that this is really something, a precious resource for the community, is an opportunity.
I like that.
So I don't know how
Yeah, I
to
think
phrase
that's-
it, but to me,
I think that's
that's
great.
where to start.
Well, so far it says precious resource for the community, and we can consider that along the way.
Or like shared belief that this is a precious resource.
Shared belief is wonderful.
Because almost everybody said it, and that just, the fact that there's such a united feeling about that,
Yep, it's a really good point, Kate.
huge.
Yeah, that's really good.
So does then the development of a comprehensive vision for that come in? Is that the next piece of this, or is that too prescriptive?
Certainly an opportunity. And it's,
So we have this cooperation among neighbors, partners to develop overarching framework. How about overarching, and instead of saying neighbors and partners, how about neighbors, partners, and stakeholders, because that includes the city, to develop an overarching vision.
So I wonder if it goes back to the way we wrote it in issues when we were thinking about them in slightly different way, back to the need for the comprehensive vision for the entire Mount Tom area.
Yeah.
Because it fits so nicely under what Kate said about the shared belief that it is the jewel of Holyoke.
So we said that it's an issue that we need a comprehensive vision. So here, then the follow-on to that would be develop a comprehensive vision.
Yep. And I think it should say for the entire Mount Tom area,
Yeah.
but again, I
Mount Tom
will.
range, including the reservoir.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's number 2. Education.
I
So
make
what?
that number 1 and everything else can flow from it.
Could you repeat that?
I'd make development of a vision.
Okay, number 1.
Yeah, and everything else.
Sue Ellen, do you think that's ahead of the jewel, the recognition that it's the jewel? Do you think that's
No,
up front?
I think I'm looking at opportunities.
So, yeah, so my first one is shared belief that this is a precious resource for the community.
Okay, 1. Then 2
Yep.
is development of a vision.
Right, that's number 2. So
And-
what's next after that? Guys.
Education.
I wonder about public. Well, so one thing we have to be careful about is, again, the I think we have to go back to the fact that it's a reservoir. So I think we probably have to bring back in the protection of the reservoir, and then we can add in the public use and recreation after we've assured the protection of the
So what
reservoir, right?
we did
If you
have,
think-
so I have preservation of public resource. So why don't we just use that?
Yep, yep. I would just mirror some of your statements, some of the issues when you can, so we're consistent. I mean, it needs to be, we can't just repeat the exact same thing.
Right.
We don't want to do that, but we want to think about they come right from the issues.
Okay.
It just seems like, as Dave pointed out, the whole issue around the fact that it's a reserve water reservoir, and then you want to say something about the public use and recreation, and then we can get into, I think, the education, the management of the public, all those kind of things.
So shared belief, comprehensive vision for the range, including the reservoir, cooperation among neighbors, partners to develop overarching framework and solve current problems, preservation of reservoirs, public resource.
I think that's ahead of cooperation among landowners, because
Okay.
it's just my opinion.
It's more important, no question.
And then I think the public use comes in, because it's still the cities. For the reservoir itself is the city, and then we can talk about the landowners working together to manage that.
So so after cooperation among neighbors, partners, what would the next big bullet be?
I think I'd scoot the public use and recreation, planned public use and recreation above the cooperation among landowners, because the cooperation among landowners is a way to have planned public use and recreation. Again, you guys can throw stones. I'm just.
Yeah, well, what I'm gonna do is type in everything everybody's saying, and then I'm sending it out, and you guys are on your own
Right.
to send comments back.
Good solution.
Yeah, the first item that we're talking about is the perception by everyone we've spoken to that this is a jewel in Holyoke's crown, as it were. The second thing is that the whole area needs a vision, and we go from there. Oh, the third thing is that the resource must be preserved. Have I got that straight?
I think so.
It sounded good to me.
Okay, and then we can go from there with anything else that,
All right, so I hate to do this.
You're
You
doing
can do
good.
it again, right? I don't want to miss any of it.
well, no, just the first thing is the shared perception that this area is a jewel in Holyoke's crown, as it were. Kate, you said it better. What did you say?
That's why this is recorded, right?
Shared belief that this is a precious resource for the community.
Perfect.
Something, yeah. Great. What she said.
A jewel, and it was really nice.
Yeah. Shared belief that is the jewel of Holyoke.
Okay. 2 is that the area needs a comprehensive vision for the future.
Yep.
For the
3,
entire Mount Tom area.
yeah. Vision for the future of the entire Mount Tom area. 3 is a preservation of the natural resource for the well-being of the city.
What's number 4?
Preservation of, it's 3.
Yep.
Preservation of the resource for the well-being of the city.
So does that include, just a question here. So I really like the way you're laying it out. Does that include the preservation of the reservoir, the current status of reserve reservoir?
I don't want to say it that way,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm thinking.
Well, your statement was broader and it could include that. So I kind of like that. I just wondered if we might wander a little closer to the reservoir protection. But again, that also, you know, that's, some people don't, who knows what people think about that.
And then it was the cooperation among neighbors, partners, /city.
Yeah.
Stakeholders, I think you had.
Stakeholders, yeah.
I thought you should have planned public use and recreation ahead of that. Personally, just because I think that's, you know, again, this is a public area. And then we can talk about how you get the landowners to work together.
Good. Good.
Okay. I flipped them. Then there's cooperation among neighbors, partners.
Stakeholders, city.
Yep, stakeholders. Neighbors, partners, city, stakeholders, city.
Yep.
And then I have the last 2 are sale of water and education.
For me, and just with all due respect, we're working on all these really deep, thoughtful things.
Yep.
The sale of water is so boilerplate. No
I
one's
know.
going to think of anything else and say, okay, all those in favor of selling all that water, vote yes. It's too
Okay.
grocery list right there. I'm voting for that. I don't remember anything else you said.
I took it. I get, okay, it's gone.
Rest of it's great.
But the potential sale of water is an opportunity. I wonder if there's a way we can phrase it that makes it.
I think there has to be in another way, whether it's in this format or when we come to discussing things, there's going to be a better signage, benches, sale of water.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, this
Right.
is bigger.
I would call it revenue opportunities.
Absolutely, absolutely. It
yeah.
cannot stand on its own, or
Yeah.
it'll draw too much attention. I
Yeah.
thought we couldn't sell that reservoir. I thought it wasn't for sale. It'll blow it up.
Why don't
And
we-
you could even go as far as to say revenue opportunities from protection, because remember we
Yeah.
talked about getting conservation restrictions from the state.
Yeah.
We talked,
Yes.
you know, if you're
Right.
gonna sell water, you have to first protect it so you can
Right. That
sell
there
it.
should
So
just, right. It should be a revenue source, a potential revenue source.
do you want to say, does it make sense to say revenue opportunities from protection? Again, I'm not so sure, but
I would simply say, if you want something in there like it, I would say revenue, potential revenue, okay?
You
It's a
know,
common finding that there might be.
I think you're both right, but I really like the potential revenues from protection
Fine,
because it will lead some thinking.
Yeah.
it also is, it would be the best thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So I'd go all over that.
Okay, last slide.
Okay, next slide. So
Thank you.
this was just the
That's good.
list of what we added to this. I added to this, of course, photography.
Nice.
walking, hiking, jogging, photography, non-motorized vehicles, bikes.
It's good.
So just a thought, I don't know what others think. But it seems like this slide belongs actually before we actually talk about the issues. So in other words, this is what's currently happening here right now. Here's the issues that the next slide is, here's the issues we identified that are,
Okay,
you know,
Good, yeah,
and
that
then
makes sense.
here are our opportunities to address these issues.
okay. So I'll put it before the findings,
Okay,
Yeah, before,
before the
yes.
issues,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
earlier on.
Yep, just before the issues, because it sets up the issues. These are the things that are happening out there right now. You know, here are the allowed things, and then here are all the other things that are happening. Some
Here's-
allowed, some
because of
not, some
this,
not
because of-
controlled.
Because of all you knuckleheads up here, this is what's happening.
I
Yeah.
wonder whether can one of these be phrased, you know, one of the passive recreation, because people did talk a lot about like observation of nature, and it's great to put photography in, but I think photography is not the only. I mean, they could be two separate bullet points, or it could be observation of nature, including photography.
Yeah, I like
A lot
that.
of people are bird watching. We don't have to
I-
list
I-
every single thing, but people are watching, you know, people are up there to see
Nature.
nature.
I love watching the birds. I
Yeah,
I
same.
love it. But I think you're right. It's including photography. You know, what that,
How about its own bullet point, observation of nature?
perfect.
Either way, fine.
Yep.
Is
Very good.
environmental education occurring up there right now in any
No,
I
organized
don't think
way?
so.
possible.
I don't really.
And that's
It was
a darn
supposed to
shame.
be. I mean, that was supposed to be
Right.
the reason the Boys and Girls Club received that
Right.
area.
I know.
But
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
you have an opportunity, right?
Okay, next slide. Oh, here. So, this next slide was just, the next thing is to get public input to add to our body of knowledge and develop recommendations for the city council.
So I'd make public input a bullet point here, just to like cue them that they're about to be part of the next step.
Yep, okay. And then the next bullet is continuing our education of, stuff, or what do you think? How about just public information, public input, and then develop recommendations for the city?
Yep. Good.
Okay, and then I think that should be it, Sue Ellen.
Well, I think there's thank you.
You did a lot of good work there, you guys.
yeah, way to go.
A lot of
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you, Marlene.
Okay, now, before we get to the last part of this that I sent out, you all think that we're going to need to discuss this at another meeting or not? Everybody happy?
Yeah, once we have a read of it,
We might want to go through it one more time, because I'm going to send it around after tonight.
May require another tweaking, but hopefully not.
yeah, I mean, you send it out, we look at it, we open the next meeting and we may not have anything to add to it. I hope we don't.
Yeah. So the next meeting would allow us maybe to think more about how we run the actual meeting,
Right.
so
Yeah.
again, we have this, this sets us up, and then we can still, so again, we have a chance to comment on this.
Yeah,
and
if-
make sure
if
we're all
something's-
comfortable.
If something startling comes to one of us.
Right.
I'd
Okay.
also love us to have time to talk about how we're going to do outreach around this. I mean, so often I go to
I
meetings
agree.
in Holyoke and
Yeah.
there's just not, I know a lot of people care about this, but they just may not figure out how to be part of it because our methods of communication within the city are not ideal.
No, and we have to think about that because once we're ready to do a public meeting, it'll go on the board down at City Hall. I think we're gonna have to talk briefly about a newspaper article for both the, the Republican, the Gazette, and possibly the Sun.
I think it'd be really nice to do something with Holyoke Media, like maybe we can get Johan to interview somebody, one of us. Like, I think that kind of publicity would be nice.
That's a good idea.
Well,
Did any of you guys catch the Sierra Club, or somebody did they did an interview with 5 of the 6 candidates for mayor, and they did an interview with them on environmental issues, and they took comments from the public, and there was a question about the reservoir
Wonderful.
in that.
That is
So I
good.
listened to that, and it was interesting. Sullivan didn't even come to so it was the other 5 candidates. Sullivan didn't come to the meeting.
Interesting.
And everybody talked about, they're growing up on the mountain, growing up in the reservoir, walking with mom, walking with dad, walking with my grandmother, so everybody was seemed to be of a mind. Everybody that was there seemed to be of a mind of preservation. Of course, it was the interview by the Sierra Club, so I'm sure they weren't going to say anything that was going to, irritate the audience much. But anyway, it was sort
Yeah,
of
they
interesting.
know in your audience. Yeah.
okay. So then, has everybody had a chance to look at the rules I set up for the meeting?
Yes.
Anything to add to that?
Well, here's a question. Are we doing this on Zoom, or are we doing this in person?
Oh,
That's a great question.
wow.
Do we get to choose?
I think we
And-
get to choose.
The answer is yes.
I think we could choose, yeah.
We just decided at the DPW, we had a long lead to decide whether we were going to go Zoom or not. It was quite a lead into next year. We selected to stay with Zoom, but I just think that I just want to make sure that we have the same option.
Well, as long as I keep paying my bill, yeah, we've got the same option.
Okay,
The city cannot accommodate us on their Zoom account.
no, I just wanted to know whether we don't have to go indoors if we don't want to.
No, we don't. And that's a decision we can make,
All right,
something to think about for the next meeting.
fine.
And then a discussion of media and what we want in newspaper articles. So
I don't
that,
mind doing PowerPoint. Someone else can do that.
You did great.
I leave away from the media.
You
I'm
did a
good.
good
Yeah,
one.
Background
you
stuff.
did great, Mark. Thank
You
you.
did
for
great,
doing
it's
that.
right.
Yeah, it was nicely set up, and yeah.
Picked us right up.
I think at one point or another, all of us have written quick newspaper articles, but if you all will tell me what you want in these things, and we go through all that at our next meeting, then I'll get things off to the media. I'd also appreciate it if everybody would think really hard about how soon you feel we ought to have these public meetings. Now, last question. And that is that because we put this meeting off so long, our first Tuesday night in July is actually next week. And I'm perfectly happy to set this up for next week, but I gotta move fast to get it on the board the way they like it.
I'm fine with next week.
Me too.
I'm good with that. I'll still be here. I'm in Rhode Island.
We know that. Don't rub it in.
Well, if I have to go to Vermont, oh, the terror of it all.
Too
I'll
bad.
take a computer. So is we all set?
Next
Yeah, the
week?
only thing I would say about your rules, Sue Ellen, is one thing we just ought to make sure and state very clearly the purpose of the public meeting, just right up front. We don't really state the purpose.
Well, I think
Yeah.
in the welcome I had planned. The purpose of this meeting is to collect further information, concerns, and ideas about the future of the Whiting Street Reservoir as charged by the City Council of Holyoke. In order for us to do that, we have a PowerPoint presentation for all visitors to look at. Following that, there will be, oh, somebody's trying to get in. Following that, there will be a, people will be allowed to speak. We'll tell you what the rules will be. And the meeting will go on for 2 hours, at which point we will stop. If we need to have other meetings, they will be similarly advertised.
So,
You'll have to speak
Not
without
yet.
any
I
introduction.
turned the audio on, by the way.
so I see Albert has joined us. He may have
Hi, Albert.
does he have permission
Good
to?
evening, folks. No, I just wanted to say hello. I've been listening intently for the last hour and very, very enthusiastic for you folks. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
And is today your birthday, Albert? Since it says Albert's birthday ride.
No, the birthday ride was, it's supposed to be March 2nd, but it never quite gets there. Either it snows or it's whatever, so.
Was your right over?
but
So no wisdom for us, Albert?
Not a word. I'm again, you folks are touching all the bases, all the, the PowerPoints, as we say, and I'm looking forward to seeing the final version of your presentation. And I cannot wait until the public gets involved with their feedback. So,
Well, we are looking forward to that.
yeah.
Sue Ellen, I'll just say you had the purpose in your head. It's clear you had already
Yeah.
thought about that. So it's
Yeah.
just we didn't write it down. It's just,
Nope.
so.
And
Clearly.
if you guys, if you think of any other, if I missed a step or like if there's some, as you go through it and it seems like, something needs to be ordered differently or anyway, so just, make whatever changes and somehow note that where or track changes. Anyway, let me know.
Okay,
But, feel free to, I hope I captured everything everybody said tonight. I was trying.
No,
My
you did
fingers
great.
aren't that fast.
Figure it out. Looks good.
Way to go. It looked like you were working pretty hard.
I have a little problem here. As you know, we're working on my personal Zoom account because the city has no space for this committee on the city account. I cannot be sure that everybody who wants to be listening in can get into the meeting if I have to put something else up on the screen. That participant trying to get in screen disappears. So I'll see if there's some way that somebody else can watch that so that we make sure that all participants can get in. But I'm not going to be able to put things up on my screen.
You share hosting, somebody else ought to be able to take care of it.
We just,
The problem with there seems to be a problem with shared hosting, and I will run through that with Scott again to see if he's
it's a good idea.
got some simple way for us to do it.
I think it's an easy fix in the settings, Sue Ellen.
Well, I thought it was too, but it isn't.
But yeah, no, not for us, but for him. He was really good at it.
He's wonderful, But, you know, there are limitations on everything. But I will look into that again. Anything else that we need to
That's the
do?
job I was supposed to do.
No, thank you, you guys. That was
That
I
was a
thought very
great meeting.
productive. Yeah,
Great,
very
great meeting.
productive.
Thanks for all the hard work.
No problem.
Yeah.
I will send this out to everybody with all the changes in it early afternoon tomorrow.
Okay.
Great.
Hey,
Waiting.
Sue,
Thank
Sue,
you.
I was somewhere at a wake and a funeral today, and I was talking to Mr. Conti, who said that you had called him and you had a concern about a certain area of water runoff.
Oh,
if-
yeah. Yeah.
If you, I don't want to do it now, but if you want, I can take care of that for you, all right?
Well, I think we did it. I just didn't report on it tonight. And I should have, I meant to. I reported on half our discussion rather than meeting. I was very concerned, as I think we all were, and I can't see my notes, but I don't think I need them, about the elevation of the reservoir itself. Yeah, I do need my glasses. And the elevation of the base of the quarry. The reservoir fully loaded when it is at capacity is at 385 feet. The base of the quarry is at 520 feet. That means there's a 135-foot drop from the quarry to the reservoir. And I was concerned about runoff and the management thereof. And that was part of the discussion. The big issue, which he and I couldn't handle on the phone, is the direction of flow from the base of the quarry
Well, I was supposed to pick up
to the
the scrap.
reservoir. Does the groundwater flow in that direction? Or does it flow directly down through the trustees of reservations land into the culvert, under the river and under the street and into the river? I think that's where it goes.
It does.
I don't think any of it flows south.
It did. It didn't.
It didn't?
It all went north. Okay.
Okay, that was. the
And
right-
somebody's seen the hydrographs on that.
Well, my next point was, it certainly did throughout my 30 years. You know, the elevations, the only way it could change would be subterranean. I'll have a look, but the water purposely, what we tried not to lose any, but when it went toward what you described. Nothing went toward the reservoir. It would have had to gone uphill to do that.
There is a brook there.
There's a brook to the right of it, absolutely.
Well, there's a brook below the quarry through just at the end of the parking area.
Yeah, well, the brook at the end of the parking lot was created as a side drain of the parking
Well,
lot.
Come on.
And brooks would run into it. But the only water from the ski area that ran to the reservoir was water that we directed in that direction because it was on its way
A minute.
to our ponds. But discharge from that side went in a different direction.
Well, I would like to do two things. One is if you've got access to hydrographs of the area, if you could get a look at them and report back on that.
I will.
And Jeff, if you could ask Yoni to look at any materials he might have in the conservation office.
Okay, I can do it.
Yeah, I'll take a look at something. But it's
Not particularly a concern for us right now, but I think it's one of those things that could come up in public hearing and we
okay.
ought to be able to respond to.
Yeah,
Okay.
it definitely could.
Okay, I'll do my part.
Okay, now I think that Mr. Romkey, I think that's his name, wanted to make some sort of statement.
He just congratulated us all in writing.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't get the,
Once again, I told you, very congratulations. Here it's 4 a.m. in my country. It's my time to sleep. I would like to start a old age home in India. I'm very happy to see you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.
all right, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your being part of this and your comment.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, everyone. Anything further to discuss? In
No, I
that
think
case,
we can end on that note.
in that case, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
seeing
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great.
everybody.
That was a great meeting.
We'll
Thanks,
set up
guys.